like, I like, man. The woman be like, I like that nigga 19, man. 19 keys. The woman be loving you. And then the brothers look up to you. They like, I want to be you. Do you ever feel like, Keys, you got all these ingredients going on, my brother? Do you feel like the association with the most honorable Elijah Muhammad is holding you back in a sense because you got so much of commercial appeal, but you got that Muslim thing going on with you that some people may say, damn, but he's into that Muslim shit. I love him. He's charismatic. He's this. Same way with Muhammad Ali. They love Muhammad Ali, but he was with Elijah Muhammad. They're like, why you got to, we love you, Muhammad Ali. It's so funny. Why you got to be with the most honorable Elijah Muhammad? Do you ever feel like your association with the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, one of the greatest men who lived in this continent, is kind of holding you back from sponsors and other things, commercial success, my brother?
This is a very great question.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Come on, Keys.
My greatest blessing is my association with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Come on, brother. Come on.
Maybe 7, 8, 9 years ago, I decided to put on the sun, moon, and stars.
Yes, sir.
Because I looked at how I was studying the psychology of how trends happen, and I was thinking about the culture. When we talk about the culture, we have a culture without value. So we don't think about whether it's a good culture or bad culture. There's influence. There's good influence. There's bad influence. I believe good influence is good leadership, right? So we have a program where we help people scale their leadership as long as it is good influence, right? We would use our platform to help you, and we partner with people like that.
Yes, sir.
But getting back to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has been the most influential in my life. Okay. As I was talking about that strong affiliation and weak affiliation, I have a strong affiliation, right, to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And why is because there is no greater teacher that I could find. So when I put the symbols on, it was a fight against the world. The paisley prints that we put on, that, you know, people look at that as a way to induce themselves into gang culture, but it don't represent God culture. So when I put those on, and every time that I've done something that wasn't aligned with the teachings, I found success. I think the biggest moment that in a person's life that they take is when they sell out from the things that got them there, right? If the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and knowledge of self got me here in the first place to where I'm projecting, right, utilizing my voice to communicate ideas and teachings from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, I couldn't live a happy and joyful life, even if it was a more financially successful life, if I had to sacrifice that which I truly believe in to get gain from the world. What's the quote that goes? What gains a man? To profit the world, but to lose himself. So for me, there are so many people who don't live happy. They come to me all the time, Keys, I wish I was as free as you. And these brothers, man, they got hundreds of millions of dollars. I talk to NBA players, NFL players, people that own corporate machines, all of it. They admire the freedom, but I look at freedom as a level of wealth itself. McDonald's wanted to sponsor the platform. I said no. Because there's a level of
McDonald's. Hold on, Key. No, because people, Keys, hold up. People need to hear this because they need to know what you turned down, and they need to know who's reaching out to you and how the game goes behind the scenes. So McDonald's wanted to reach out to you and have what they want. What did they want? They want you to have a milkshake in the back or something. What did they want?
Well, they wanted to sponsor the platform, so they wanted me to read out their advertisements and things of that nature and have that on the platform.
Shit.
And of course, I said no.
That would have been big money too.
People don't think about that aspect. Yes, I have a platform. Many people would love to be on it, but integrity dictates I have to say no. And no is how you navigate opportunities. You know what I mean? For a man, this is the part that people don't think about. It's easy to cast judgment and light and think about all these things. Anybody should take your platform and my platform as motivation, right? Indeed. How is it that you are able to radically, creatively figure out a way to navigate? People will be like, Keys, what do you do? Oh, so you don't see me making a platform? You don't see my entrepreneur endeavors? You don't see that I'm an executive producer and host of a show? You don't see that I'm a producer and a designer? You don't see that I'm a writer and a creator? You don't see all of these different things that I do? So anytime you see what a person do, think about the process. And when you think about the process, you think about everything that must be done in order to make the process successful. That's what I do. But because I take on the ultimate title as a God, there is no title that I'm going to flaunt around here. There is no metrics that I'm going to push around here besides the impact that I create. So for me, you know, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has been the greatest blessing, because without him, I wouldn't have the foundation of knowledge of self. My parents would have never had the union that they have. You know what I mean? And I think that that's an even greater thing, is that I want us to think about this. I want everybody, pick an ancestor, pick multiple ancestors. And I want you all to evolve upon their work, to do better, right? Stand on the shoulders or take it further. When I look at white America, they pick their greats. They get inspired by them. They go into studies, they develop skills, and they evolve upon their work, right? In Black America, we disregard our greats. Honorable Elijah Muhammad is the single most influential Black man in American history, by far, right?
I agree.
It's not arguable.
I agree. I agree.
So why wouldn't I want to pick up that work? Why wouldn't I want to take those ideas and move forward? When I study all sort of Black men throughout history and life. But I think the beauty of it is creating, and this is something that we are required to do. It's a cosmic duty for us to extend the legacy of our ancestors over time. We talk about veneration of our ancestors. That means you have to study their ideas. You have to study their work. You have to see their visions. What was complete, what was incomplete, right? And then it's the same way if you're planning a bloodline and I develop a child and I say, I want this child to become an engineer and an architect, right? I want them to study philosophy. I want them to have multiple languages. And then I will embed in this child all of my ideas and my mission, so that now if I live to be 90 years, right, and my child lives to be 90 as well, right, we're projecting ourselves into the future. Then he has a child that's 200 plus years in the future. Then they have a child that's 300 years in the future, and so on and so forth. How do you plan 1,000 years ahead? It's through the bloodline. So how do we take the work of our ancestors that's disconnected from today? Is we study them, we pick up the mantle from them, and it's going to be a sacrifice, but also it's possible. It's very possible for me to continue on the back end. We got to train the team. We have to crack codes of social media. We have to figure out this algorithm consistently. We have to learn to develop our mind. We have to learn artificial intelligence. We have to learn. I do a lot of things myself. I be designing thumbnails. I do every single post. I do every single caption, right? Sometimes I'm in the editing room getting things done, but that's because my testosterone levels are balanced, baby. You know what I'm talking about? So I don't mind the challenge. It brings me pleasure to produce wealth from the merits of my work that I put in, but I understand this delayed gratification. I have not gotten to that single point that my platform is for. So we're just in the building stages. Now we're going into the next stage of it. And this is the thing about Black men. I want us to be respected for the things that we do and not disrespected for what we don't do. Right? Every time a Black man does something, people trying to point out what you don't do. They're not giving credit for what you do, how hard that was. They're not thinking about the adversities and the challenges that you come from under. Right? 99% of the people that I grew up with, they in jail, they got mental issues, they homeless, they come from instability. So I didn't grow up with resources. There was no silver spoons, there were plastic spoons. So when we think about that, you have to understand first the adversity and respect that. And in white communities, a person just gets to be a radio host and become a legend. That's it. They ain't got to do nothing else. If a Black person builds a platform, he's also expected to save Black America and build every institution that he speaks upon. Sometimes we look at somebody like Jordan Peterson. He's just a white intellect thought leader. He's just selling his books. He's not expected to do anything else for white America. Black people put, and what this does is,
great point.
It puts undue responsibility on the assets that you do develop, right? So it decreases your ability to use those resources and pass them down. So it puts undue strain on those assets. That's why in the 1965 reports, they were saying that the middle-class Black Americans will have less children because they were trying to preserve the wealth of the assets that they were building. So not only you have to build the thing, you have to preserve it so it can be passed down, but we have this cannibalism, this endo-cannibalism in our community where we try to eat each other up. We pull from the strings. We automatically have an attitude towards each other. Attitude. This is the most important thing.
Yeah.
If we can get this attitude thing right, we can win.
Okay.
The attitude creates an automatic position and disposition. If I didn't meet Brother Rich and somebody was saying, man, Brother Rich a fraud, man, Brother Rich do this. When I meet you, I'm gonna have an attitude towards you.
Right.
Not why. I'm gonna have a shift in the way that I feel. Not that it's true, not that I've have an actual experience with it, but what informs our attitude is the question. The idea, specifically the media, informs the attitude that we have about ourselves and each other, right? So if the media is not showing a Black conscious man that's successful with high integrity, we don't believe it. We can't see it. We take the tropes, the stereotypes, and we project that onto ourselves and each other. So the lack of self-love, if I don't love myself, I can't love you. So I have to look at you and I have to automatically think about unraveling your character. What's wrong with this person? I need to research why I can't respect you, why I can't trust you, why I can't take your leadership. Because we have an attitude against each other that is informed by who? Ad dollars, sponsorships, media. It's not controlled by us. This is why what you're doing is so important. What I'm doing and many other brothers are doing so important when it comes to Black and media, because we get to inform and shape the attitude. And the attitude produces the will that we have. It produces the ideas. It shapes the reality. This is why the Black woman has such a responsibility, because the attitude that she shapes inside that child becomes the form ideas that he have about himself that he projects as a man. Right? When the father is not there, he can't shape that attitude. He can't shape that self-love. So it gets down, and this is why I've been focused on media, because it's like I can't do everything all at once. I don't have the goddamn resources to. I may have the willfulness. I can talk about it, but now it goes into the next thing. Like, all right, let me build up my network, my resources, right? The budget. Then I can do it. But you can have the same expectation of a man who may have the willfulness to do something, but he doesn't actually have the resources to do it. That means that there's a process of maturation we have to allow these things to continue to get to. We have to preserve them and build on top of them. And that's why we can't throw a single one of our ancestors, because we lose the wealth that they have built up instead of preserving it, picking it up and moving forward as assets that we can learn from. Because that to me is evolution. It is the stream of consciousness that is evolved upon throughout time, right? So pick a ancestor, pick some work and do it. That is based on your skill sets and your mastery.
Definitely. Indeed. Wow. Let me ask you, I seen a comment in the chat, and it's based on a question I want to ask you. So let me put this comment on before I ask this question. We got about 15 more minutes left. 15, 20 more minutes. I want to thank 19 Keys for being on here, man. What a magnificent show. What a magnificent show. Wow. I guess this is brother. I think it's a brother said the biggest problem in Black America is the gender war between Black men and women. Keys, I don't know if you know, but there was like a question asked on Instagram, TikTok, that said they asked this question to women, not just Black women, but they asked this question to women. Since we're talking about masculinity, that's part of the rise in the new gods is dealing with the rise, figuring this thing out, this gender war thing out, so-called gender war thing out. They asked the woman, they said, hey, if you was in the woods trapped or you couldn't go nowhere and you had to choose between a bear and a man, who would you choose? And the answers came back. A lot of the women said, I would choose that bear. Keys, what the fuck? Women would choose a bear over a man? What does that say? Like, Keys, what do you think about that? I just, before we move on, I just got to know, what do you think about the majority of women? This is not just Black, just women in general choosing to be stranded in the woods. Nobody can save them with a bear over a man, Keys.
I think that it represents the poisoning of a generation, because that's what we would consider hyperfemininity, right? Or hyperfeminism. When we think about it, because we can change the question up and we ask, what about your son? What about your uncle? What about your brothers? What about your cousins, right? What about your male friends? If this attitude, because it gets back to the attitude, is this your disposition and position towards the men that you love in your life? because you don't understand how harmful that is for the male psyche to hear that women don't like man. So it makes the boy not want to be a man. When everything projected about the man is trying to be shown as toxic, then it has an effect on a male becoming a man and being a man towards you.
Yes.
Right? Because the idea is that every woman will want a good man in the woods with them to help them. Right? So that they can hunt, they can scavenge, they can protect, right? They can cure the loneliness that you may have. But society projects these ideas of independence in a woman that comes out in the form of irrationality, to where you have the anima and the animus, and she takes on the animus of the male psyche, right? And instead of saying that, no, I would love to have a good man, why is the option not a good man in the automatic thought process? So every time a woman goes on there and she shames men and she talk about men, I always think about, what about your son? It's so sad that you have these ideas about men, because then how can you raise a boy to become one if you have a negative attitude towards them, right? That's what I go to automatically. We don't think about these are women that are raising a male population. So when you put out, imagine seeing your mother putting out nothing but negative ideas about men. How does it have an effect on these young boys? So the responsibility of women to not project that power of voice and tongue that they have to give life or death to the ears of these young boys, they're killing the man before they even get the opportunity to become one. Right? And I think that that is the danger in society. And the reality of it is it showcases the irrationality of this generation, because there's no way in hell that you can tell me that you would actually want to be in the woods with a bear, because a bear would not show you companionship. A bear will put you on a menu, regardless if it's a good bear or a bad one.
Bad bear, yeah. Keys, we talked about this is election season, voting. It's sad to see black people fighting the way they fighting over the Republicans or Democrats. Keys, it's a sad thing to see. And I want to ask you, my brother, in terms of Project 2025, a lot of people say, oh, it's a scare tactic, and some people say, no, it's the end of the world. Both sides, each side is saying it's different. Is Project from 19 Keys, is Project 2025 as dangerous as they're making it out to be, my brother? What's your thoughts on Project 2025, 19 Keys?
My thoughts is this. Who wrote it? There was probably about 100 people that came together. They wrote a 900-page memorandum about their vision for America. So first, the dangerous thing that comes every 4 years, this election cycle, is only one single tactic. And funny enough, I seen Al Sharpton, right? And quoting Al Sharpton is always interesting, right? But he was speaking on how Biden was having a press conference and there was no black reporters. And he's like, wait a minute, with this voter block being so important, yet you're so disrespectful to the influence and the voice of Black America that they're not even in the room to ask the questions. Now, is that, if we was to look at, that's supposed to be on the left side, which is a conservative Christian narrative from the Heritage, right, Foundation or Society. Then the question becomes, if that's their Project 2025, what is the left side's Project 2025? Then we say, okay, what is the Culture's Project 2025? Because all it is an outline of ideas that they believe. It's not an actual political party. It is a private group of people that have it, right? And saying that these are our ideas. Now, what's concerning inside of those is that, they talk about bloodless revolutions. They talk about, projecting their ideas, and it's very thorough and it's very detailed. And I will argue that this has always been the case in America. We just never read their agenda. But this is one of the few times to where their agenda is being weaponized by one side to say, wait a minute, we found another reason why you should vote Democrat. And my thing is that what it really does is it takes out the power of the leverage that you can have in your vote. Because the Democratic tactic is, regardless, first of all, disregard the power of the black vote, find a fear tactic to make sure that they always vote Democrat regardless, right? We know that black voters put Biden in the office, right? Black men and black women. And instead of appealing to the values of black men and women to create opportunities, to create more jobs, to increase the quality of life, right? Gap that's in America. Instead of focusing on those things, on how we're going to make your life better, we say, no, here's fear of their ideas. So vote for us again. It's the same tactic repackaged over and over and over and over and over and over. So yes, we can talk about how bad Project 2025 is, but I've always known that regardless if they published it or not published it, I believe the same feeling should be regarded towards that party to the right, and the same feeling should be regarded to the party to the left, right? The only difference is we just see one using, right, as a political tactic. But if we don't have a vision ourselves, right, because here's the dangerous thing is that we take Project 2025 on Essence, on BET, it was pushed out there. Go research this. Well, all you're really doing is spreading someone else's ideas. I want to hear Biden articulate his plans for 2025, right? I want to hear the Democratic Party articulating what is your 900-page memorandum about your ideas, because what we end up getting is that I say Project 2025 is not as bad as the